Hopefully that's just going to get us live. It says we're live. Oh, it looks like we're live. Right, let me just test the audio. There we go. Right, that sounds good. Let me just turn this down a little bit, and then I think we're probably good to go. Put the chat out over here. So, if I've done my my maths right, my mental maths, my understanding of time zones, then this should start right about now. Now. Maybe in a bit. Maybe I was a bit too optimistic on that. Let's see what the chat's saying. We are watching it live, aren't we?
Turn into a
Oh,
demon.
that's
A
not what you
demonized
want.
player has a completely different.
It's like 32 minutes ago. I wonder if this is gonna be better for me to watch it on Twitch. Am I gonna? Is this gonna be blasphemy if I go on Twitch? Wait, what the hell? Twitch. Why is it trying to correct what I'm doing? Maybe we can find it on. Oh no, that's someone else. Let's just go straight for Diablo 4. Yeah, let's do this. Watch it on Twitch. Oh, that's louder. Okay. Sign up. Yeah, I mean, how have I not signed up to Twitch? Don't worry about it. Okay, we're getting the real experience now. Hey, units, how's it going, man? You alright? I'm hoping that my mic's fine. There's no issues there. This should be watching this live developer conversation. The mic's fine. Sick. Okay, so we are 4 minutes into a video games stream, and there's no technical bugs yet. So this is positive. This is positive. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've literally I was saying to you yesterday. I had yesterday off work. Today off work. Sorry. So I've just been looking back from my stream yesterday and just creating some YouTube shorts and editing some stuff, and just been chilling generally, really. Oh, let me get into this. There we go. What's the volume like for the video that I'm watching? Is it too quiet, or is it all right? I can turn it up.
In destroying them. But I cannot do this alone. My allies have fallen.
I feel like I've seen this video so many times. I'm really curious to see what the channel is saying. The comments are always the best bit. Skip. Garbage, skip. Right, okay. So at least we know where they're at. Buff Barb. Hold to escape. Here we go.
Hello, Diablo community. Welcome to another Diablo 4 Campfire chat.
Okay.
My name is Adam Fletcher. I am the Associate Director of Community here for Diablo. I'm joined here by Joe Shelley, Game Director of Diablo 4, and Mr. Joe Pipora, the Associate Game Director.
Honestly, this Joe Pipora guy, he looks so much like my sales manager. They're literally could be twins. It's crazy.
the patch that just released this past week, which is patch 110.
Oh,
We've
boo.
received a ton of feedback. We've heard a lot of feedback.
Yep.
And so we do want to go through, a lot of the points of feedback that we've been hearing.
If anyone's in the chat now that
Same time
watches
the patches
plays
itself.
Diablo, what do you think of the most
biggest
recent
thing that,
patch?
to kind of like kick us off here, I think we want to, obviously acknowledge everyone's feedback in regards
This
to
guy, yeah.
reducing player power.
You don't want to disagree with this guy.
It is bad. We know it is not fun. And
Okay.
it's something that, we ourselves know that it's not the greatest play experience for players out there. We do want to explain why we ended up doing it within the actual patch.
Okay.
And then, of course, we also want to talk about like what we were trying to achieve specifically with this patch and with the changes that players ended up seeing. And then
Just going to pause it really quickly because it seems so strange that they're saying that they know that it's bad. They know they've made the game worse. They know they've made the game slower. And let me just explain why. Like already I'm a little bit like, okay, where are you going with this?
our philosophy, our own internal statements that we're setting for ourselves for future updates for the game itself. And then, of course, we do want to also talk about how we can talk better and communicate with the community better in regards to patches and updates coming to the game and what we can do to improve on that.
Okay.
So I know that the first thing we do want to talk about, though, as I said, was talking about why we ended up doing this in this patch. And I do want to throw it over to
Tell us.
over here to talk a little bit more.
Why?
Sure. So I know that we've talked on stream before about our intentions for Diablo 4 being a game about choice, and
These
part of
chats.
that is ensuring that the various class options feel that they've got a place in the meta experience, and that kind of goes to some of the changes we made in 1.1. Now, Adam already called out that we've heard the feedback with regard to the patch, and we know that reducing player power is never a good experience in general. And I want to talk through sort of some of the things that brought us to where we are today in terms of decisions we were making and why. So a few of the really big changes that were made as part of 1.1. First, really, I guess to cooldown reduction. We changed the amount of CDR that players can get as part of in the affix ranges and items that are rolling for them as they're going through the experience. CDR is one of the, if not the most powerful stat in many ways in Diablo 4. And the reason for it is obvious. When you're able to get CDR to a certain point and using certain class mechanisms, you're able to get effectively instantaneous active skills. So
Right.
that can give you unlimited resource, can give you unlimited movement speed, give you unlimited damage resist.
Yeah, we like all
It
that
can
stuff.
dwarf the effectiveness of other options when you can start trying to take these things into account. Now,
The thing is, like, they're saying that they're making everyone's cooldown longer because they don't want people to have as many abilities back to back. But they're only talking about very specific builds that have been essentially made to be at the top level of the game. Like the regular Joe and the regular players that play this game are never going to experience like that. So they don't need these nerfs. They don't need the game to be slower.
In particular, thinking about Nightmare Dungeons, especially.
Oh, the chat is going so negative.
Dramatically overtuned from where they actually need to be, based upon the place they fill in the role they fill in the game itself. So tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons are excruciatingly difficult for most players most classes to be able to actually get through.
Yeah.
And as a result, it begins to kind of winnow the opportunities and options that players have when they begin to engage with content at that tier, such that you really do you need to lean on very, very specific builds, very specific setups, with access to things like near instantaneous cooldowns for some skills, in an effort to actually make it through those spaces. And that was never really the intent of that content. And we see that, right? Players are using Nightmare Dungeons as ways to kind of level up their glyphs, ways for them to gain experience and loot as they're progressing up. It's largely like a level up system. You're progressing with.
I still don't really see the point here because essentially what they're saying is that the people that get to tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons, there's only very few specific builds that you can utilize to get to those points because they're difficult. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of nerf everyone, so everyone is not as good. So no one can then get to this point at all. Not the good classes. Definitely not all of the other. I don't understand. I don't see how nerfing everything is going to make those small groups of people not be able to then reach the top, but then also allow the people who weren't reaching the top to be able to get to the top and use all of the different classes. So it seems a bit odd.
A Nightmare Dungeon tier 70. That's kind of where we actually want the difficulty to be for a tier 100 as players are going through the experience. So there's still a thing to push for, but it's more reasonable. And as part of this change, we know that players really like kind of blasting and pushing hard for these sorts of things. They feel like big achievements. We are going to be looking at creating a new content type, a new endgame content type, to be more directly meant to address those sorts of players and give people more things to chase. That's part of the commitment to to make sure that we're always adding new things like this for players to go and try to kind of chase after, to kind of maximize and use their builds in fun and interesting ways. So that's another really big thing. Next, we made a number of changes to the sorceress skill, sorceress build.
Oh, here we go.
That sort of ended up having a net impact of like really reducing their effectiveness with some of their most powerful builds at the moment. And the goal at the time was to try to bring their builds back in line with one another, so that we could start trying to bring everything up at once, opposed to having these things as they are. And this actually leads to a really good conversation about the idea of balance in general. I said before that Diablo 4 is a game that is about choice, and that remains our goal. That's our guiding light. We're trying to make decisions on balance.
So I think if what they're saying is that the intended Nightmare Dungeon level 70 difficulty is what they want it to be about 100. So I guess what they're saying is they've kind of nerfed everything, because the difficulty difference between 70 and 100 on Nightmare Dungeons is essentially too far above what they want it to be. So they've nerfed everything to make almost 70 being the cap, and they're saying that they're going to try and fill the space between 70 and 100 with something else. So, and I think that's fair. I mean, the amount of times I was playing Nightmare Dungeons and I was getting reasonably close to kind of 60, 70, I couldn't really imagine getting much further in the game, or at least changing much about my character in the game, because I'd already pretty much acquired everything, every single piece of gear at that point in time. So if what they're saying is they're going to be changing things from, between level 70 and level 100 to almost be like different types of content, and 70 almost being that kind of top maximum power level, then I guess they're just kind of changing the ceiling, and also just removing this entire, because from 1 to 70 the game is fine, right? Or 1 to 100 or whatever, Nightmare Dungeons up until tier 70 are absolutely fine, but then Nightmare Dungeons between tier 70 and tier 100 are just a boring grind. So yeah, I think if they can remove that, I think that will actually make the game better. However, it's just words at this point. So
vulnerable in order for you to feel that you can damage them. This is something that we're very aware of, and we made a reduction as part of the 1.1 build that reduced player damage in general, because most players rely on many builds, I should say, rely on vulnerable damage to deal to kind of spike in lots of different kinds of content. This is something we also need to talk about. Vulnerable damage is far more potent right now than we actually want it to be in general across the game. I think I've talked about that.
Right.
And we need to make a number of we need to kind of bring these things back in line. But this is a more complicated conversation than simply just saying we can take a bonus damage to vulnerable creatures number and reduce it by 40% in terms of the amount of damage you can accrue across different sources, and have that be the way that we solve this problem. Really, I think we all know that the ultimate problem with damage to vulnerable creatures is the fact that it is multiplicative stacking on top of the base vulnerable damage, which is already multiplicative on its own.
Yeah.
Like this is the reason why the stat plays such an outsized role in a lot of player builds. We're going to need to move that to an additive place, but we can't do that without making a number of other adjustments to critical strike damage, the way that overpowered damage is both calculated and dealt to creatures, and the availability of these things across various builds. There's lots of builds that rely on vulnerable, and they're balanced around the idea that the damage is also multiplicative. So a number of their balance and tuning changes will need to be made in order to be able to bring vulnerable back in line with some of the other options we have out there. So this is how we're kind of thinking about these things moving forward. We want to start trying to be a little more inclusive of all of these decisions when we begin considering which of these balance adjustments we want to make, rather than being in this iterative place where we're making small adjustments to a number of different things along the way. with an end goal in mind of where we actually eventually want to be, we want to be trying to consider what the experience is going to be like from moment to moment, rather from update to update and release to release, to get things in a better spot.
Okay, so I guess there's a lot of information that's just kind of come out there, and I think my takeaway from that is that they're looking at things from a top down perspective. They're looking at things potentially in a longer term, in a longer scale, and at the moment there's a lot wrong, they think, with the way that the damage numbers work, in terms of some things being multiplicative and some things being additive, and they want to change the numbers around to kind of balance the game a bit. So in order to do that, what they've done is they've nerfed a lot of things and removed a lot of percentages and damages and moved some things up to kind of create this new baseline. But it is they're kind of forgetting about the short term side of it, and I think the short term side of it is clearly the player base is really annoyed at the moment. You can see that the chat is just going off on one right now. So the player base are not happy about the fact that things have been nerfed, and this is probably going to lead to a lot of people not playing the game or moving away from the game. I mean, maybe they won't move away. I think these days people tend to complain more and still play the game anyway. But there is, I guess, almost a short-sightedness in the fact that they're saying we're going to make the game less fun for you now, so we can make it more fun for you in 6 months or 9 months or something like that. Is essentially what they're saying, because they don't have the capability to kind of figure it out quickly. So they're kind of resetting things and readjusting things and seeing how things go and changing it. So long term, what they're saying is this is a good thing, but short term, essentially what they're saying is that this is just, suck it up, deal with it. That's what they're saying.
We need to always have a wide variety of viable builds to discover, to put together, to acquire the items for. And to
I want my money back, one of the comments.
All 5 of our classes. Second point, every season should introduce new items and powers that keep the game fresh and increase build variety. Moving on to the third point, the live game should also have continually evolving end game content. And that content needs to have high monster density for powerful builds to mow down, and it needs to have activities that challenge your build. And you were just talking about
yes,
how
make
while
the game
Nightmare
fun.
Dungeons,
Obviously.
I'll get to the fourth point in a second. While Nightmare Dungeons are technically challenging your build, they're challenging your build in some ways that are not very fun, right?
Yeah.
Being CC'd all the time.
Yeah, that's correct. Going
And
through 20 tiers of Nightmare Dungeons, where every monster can one-shot you, and then if you get clipped by one bit of chill, you're permanently snared, right? Or not completely frozen. Like these are not things that the Nightmare Dungeons system is doing particularly well right now in terms of making challenging content.
right.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so important, your call out that we plan to introduce additional content that fulfills that part of the mission statement to challenge your builds. If we can go back to the screen, I got kind of sidetracked, but I think
I still can't get over the fact that they've got 4 points about how they want to improve the game, and then number 4 is make the game fun. How is that not number 1?
we're doing. And if the game is not more fun for players, and we're not making the game, if players can't believe that as the game evolves, it will get more fun, then we're not accomplishing our goals either, right? And so the other point I want to go to here is a change that, Adam was talking about. How do we make sure that the next time we do a patch, we don't have, this doesn't happen, right? And so I want to talk about we call it a key process improvement. That's like a weird jargon term. A change that we're making that will help us avoid this situation. So I think we have a slide for this.
Okay.
When we make, and this goes, again,
When making changes to increase build diversity, let some builds be overpowered until we have provided compelling alternatives. Yes, absolutely.
So we make changes.
Absolutely. So what they're saying is at the moment there's a lot of overpowered builds out there, but what the developers are doing are nerfing those builds into oblivion and making none of the builds viable to be overpowered. So they're actually making the bad builds worse and the good builds okay. So there aren't any alternatives. So what they're saying is they need to improve the other builds first, which I completely agree with. I think that's something they absolutely should be doing.
Like when we identify that there are a few individual like meta builds or stats that are like really powerful within preseason or within a season, that until we have created those other options and redesigned things around the nature of these and made sure that we've lifted up other options and brought everything in line, we're not going to move on those changes. There's going to be always situations where there are extraordinary outliers, that we're going to want. They're usually relying on like actual bugs that we need to address. But when it comes to like trying to bring things back in line with one another, we want to be able to make sure that we're doing those. When we make those decisions, we have a bevy of other options and alternatives available for players to engage with at the same time. So if players see it as taking like a toy away, that we're giving lots of other toys, or lifting up other toys, to make them more viable as part of the exchange.
Yeah, and that those toys are equally exciting.
Yes.
So let's go to the second point of this here. When we make changes like this, it's important for us to make them at predictable times, and Adam's going to talk a little bit more about our community.
Okay, so for this, I feel like this could be interesting because I understand that you need to have certain schedules to release content and release upgrades on content. But if it's going to be a situation where the game's only really getting updated once every 3 months, and at the beginning of the season everyone's kicking off because they don't like the way that it is, then they're just gonna lose players. People just won't hang around. People will go play Baldur's Gate, and they're going to lose pretty much a lot of people indefinitely. So interesting to. I'll be interested to see how they kind of pitch this.
Strategy here in a bit. The start of a season is an especially good time for meta changes to happen because there's a big refresh. Everyone is rolling new characters, and there's new seasonal content. And changes like that will also appear in Eternal at the same time. And the third point here, as Joe alluded to. There are certain situations. We saw a case where we had a skill that could do 10 to the 37 damage. In cases like that where the damage is literally breaking the game or crashing the servers, we will still react to those situations. But that doesn't change the first point here in terms of allowing builds to be overpowered. And I think,
just like allowing everyone to drop 140 Shakos, that one of the most ultra rare items in the game, and fixing that immediately.
To recognize and state is that ultimately,
hey Harold,
or some people call
Haroldinho,
games,
how you doing, man?
Are about power fantasy, right? And they're about
you good?
us inviting
Welcome to the stream.
Break the game to some extent, not
how
to
are
cast, like there are lots of ways to interpret the word break, but and find fun toys that we've made, do crazy things with them, and we need to make sure that we aren't trying to punish players for doing that, like because ultimately that's the playground we built. That's like we built the game that's like go find crazy stuff, and we need to make sure that when players
nice. I'm glad you're good, mate.
That,
what happened with Twitch? I'm gonna pause this. I basically just decided to uproot my my content creation to YouTube. So I've been doing a lot of thinking over the last kind of year and a half about whether I want to make content and what kind of content I want to make. And I've been making YouTube videos again recently, like YouTube Shorts and long form videos, putting some time into that. And recently I've been like, do you know what? I want to do some streams alongside. And then was comparing the two, comparing Twitch, comparing YouTube, and I think ultimately it just makes more sense for me to stream on YouTube, just because it's essentially where all of my other content is. With Twitch, you go live, people join, you go offline, and then there's just kind of like nothing there. But with YouTube, I'm hoping to continuously build that brand and that following, and get people that maybe watch my lives to maybe watch my long forms, or maybe people that watch my shorts to maybe watch my lives, and it's all just some just all connected in some way. So yeah, I've taken the leap. I've decided to come back. I've decided to go to YouTube. I may stream on Twitch at some point. I'm not sure yet, but at the moment I'm gonna stick with YouTube, because I think it's just gonna help me more as a content creator, kind of just grow if I just stick to one platform.
Yeah, and I know,
What have you been doing with yourself recently,
when we were
mate?
Talking about at least the Nightmare Dungeon stuff beforehand, and we can go into it a little bit more detail.
Thanks, Haroldini. I appreciate it, man.
Stuff that might be coming down the pipe
Yeah, it's
here.
been a while since I've been.
One thing I think that I wanted to.
It's been a while since I've been able to kind of come and make content and do live streams. So it just feels good, man. I was saying to a few people in Discord and a few people outside of it that it's been about a year and a half, 2 years since I properly streamed. Probably more than 2 years actually, thinking about it. But I think that it's been something that's been on my mind a lot. Haroldinho, I recognise your name. Absolutely recognise your name, and I feel like it's definitely not from the Diablo stuff. So I feel like the Twitch is obviously very much Rocket League intensive. My YouTube name is from Twitch. What's your Twitch name? I really recognise the name, but it's been so long. Rocket League, yes, it had to be Rocket League, didn't it?
To really highlight on was, obviously we did this.
Do you still play Rocket League?
Changes, and we brought character power down, like player power down, essentially. That in itself was also supposed to be paired with these Nightmare Dungeon changes that where Joe was actually talking about earlier, and it's something that we've learned throughout this process is, as you guys were talking about, that we have ultimate visions for something that is further down the line, and
yeah, I suck
doing
still.
that all together at once.
Don't worry, mate. So do I.
Doing that over time. And
I picked it up again a few weeks ago and gave it a go, and I'm much worse than I ever have been. So it's we're in the same boat there, brother.
Build out, future updates and patches and so forth.
Have you played Diablo?
Of course.
Any idea about this game that I'm
how we
watching?
Communicate to players, and there is been a lot of feedback in regards to hey, it would have been great if we knew some of these changes were coming down the pipe, and it's a hefty amount of patch notes. We could have digested this over a few days beforehand, or a week beforehand. So one thing that we do want to commit to right now is that we do plan on going forward always providing patch notes and communicating these patch notes through streams like this, through Campfire chats, or.
I have no idea how long this live stream is going to be. I thought it was going to be 15 minutes, but I'm concerned now that this is going to be going on for a while.
Or developer update live streams beforehand, well beforehand, at least a week before the actual update hits. In no matter state, because I know sometimes we're still trying to maybe potentially squeeze in a few different things into patch notes and stuff like that up until the last second, just on the nature of production of how we are. But I will say we do plan on sharing those no matter what to the community going forward, and from here on out through a stream or written through blog or something like that beforehand, before players can actually get into game and actually try it out on their end. So at least we can hear feedback and you guys can actually digest the information before.
Faded, how are you, mate? Welcome. How's the hangover? Haroldini, I've been so busy with college, not really played my Xbox as much. I finished my first year, back on it for a bit and chilling. Mate, college can be a busy time. I think there's it's a big shift going from one education to the other. Big shift. So I totally get it. Yeah, definitely. Do you reckon you're gonna stick playing to games like Rocket League, Haroldinho, or have you moved on to other games at the moment? Are you on anything else? Faded. I'm good. I forgot I have to look on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, Faded. I'm not on Twitch anymore. I was literally just chatting to Haroldinho about that, saying that the move from Twitch to YouTube was quite a big decision, actually, quite a conscious effort, but it's it's the right decision ultimately. So you'll be make sure you got the subscribe notification, subscribe bell on YouTube on. You know what they all say. Grinding Apex. Yeah, I play a bit of Apex, mate. Apex is a good game. The most recent season, the ranking system's an absolute joke, isn't it? I cannot believe how easy it is for people to get to Masters this season. College is really hard for me. Hashtag learning disabilities. Oh mate, I can only imagine. I think there's a lot of awareness about things like learning disabilities at the moment. I think when I was in college, it was really not a known thing. People would just kind of, everyone's like, oh, that person's just stupid. It's like, well, no, actually they have something that they struggle with, like either reading this or reading that, and it's a very different situation these days, I think, which is good. I heard it's better on YouTube due to Twitch changes. Yeah, I think Twitch is ultimately, I think Twitch is a really good streaming platform, but my situation is that I don't want to be a streamer. I want to be a content creator who streams, and I think there's a big difference between being a streamer and being a content creator who streams. Ideally, I'd like to stream regularly. I'd like to, today I'm streaming. I streamed yesterday. I'm going to stream tomorrow. I'm going to stream Sunday. Oh my god, I've got a lot of streams going on. I might play a bit of Rocket League, and I'm doing that because it's season 1 of Diablo, and I want to play a lot of Diablo because it's season 1. But this week I'm going to stream a lot and just kind of see how all of that goes. But yeah, I think I like to keep all my content in the same place, and YouTube is where all my content is, so it just makes sense for me to be here. I think I've won 11 games this season. Oh mate, that's good. That's good.
In fact,
who's your main on Apex?
We do actually have, of course, future updates here that we do want to talk about here really quickly. But one thing that we will commit to right now is that next Friday, so exactly 1 week from now, we'll be back on a live stream, because we will start with that live stream where we will be talking about our next patch that will be coming to Diablo 4. We'll talk a little bit about some of the details here, but we'll go into more detail next Friday specifically.
College is much harder, and I felt the difference quite fast since leaving secondary. Yeah, I was the same, to be honest. I think secondary school was a bit of a breeze, and then when I went to college, I think the main difference between school and college for me was the fact that it's a lot more self-managed. It's a lot more of your own time, and obviously things are harder generally, like learning and stuff like that. But because you're at an age where you're probably able to go out a bit more and maybe drink and stuff as well, and there's probably a lot of temptations to kind of take you away from your studies more than when you're kind of in school. I think that makes it more difficult for sure. Redoing because my Tourette's have gone, and I got to fight my OCD now. Oh, that sounds like a right trifecta of issues. I mean, I don't even know how you manage that. Is that something that you have to take tablets for, or is that something that is just like always going to be with you, or how do you kind of manage something like that? Doing a level 3 health and social care at college, I mean that just says to me that you're a good person, really. I mean, health and social care generally means that you're looking out for other people, right? You want to work with people, you want to help people, so that's a nice thing. And yeah, Loba used to be my main as well. I've got a lot of hours on Caustic. I'm one of those players that just can't stick to a player. I just cannot stick to one legend. I'll play every single legend on Apex Legends. I don't know what it is. I'm just so indecisive. I'll play like 10 games as a Pathfinder, then I'll play 10 games as Loba, then I'll play 10 games as Watson, 10 games as Bangalore. I just can't pick.
We will be back on here to kind of go through the whole entire patch notes with everyone beforehand, so everyone has a better expectation of what they're going to be seeing in the actual update, and they can talk to us through chat, through devs, through social media, through Reddit, through our forums, etc. beforehand, before the actual patch hits.
Good.
So we will get times and remind everyone, of course, throughout the week that we will have another Campfire chat to talk about.
Being a paramedic would be sick.
Since we just shipped 1.0.
I feel like that's a really good thing. I feel there's a lot of
but we do want to.
I feel like there's a big lack of people in social care, right? Social and healthcare at the moment. So yeah, being a paramedic can only be good. So yeah, that's awesome that you're doing that. Keep up that. I wish you luck with that. It could be like that with Apex. Apex for me is like, I have a good game, I'm like, this legend's amazing, and then the next game I'd get killed on drop, and then I'm just like, I hate this legend. This legend's terrible. I wish I was Rafe. I could have got out of that situation.
Talk a little bit about patch 1.1.1. today, just because there are some items that we are aware of
Right.
that we know will be of interest to players, specifically when it comes to things that they've been asking for, and at least it gives you guys a little bit of an early preview of some stuff that's coming down the road. I
Tell
think
us.
one big thing that everyone has been kind of talking about as of late from this current patch is like some of the sorcerer and barbarian
no, I don't
items
have a
and
s-
stuff
oh, I
like
do.
that, and how we've obviously tuned a lot of classes down, and there's questions of like, hey, is there any
It's like
changes
snack.
in the future for those two?
Yeah, we're taking
Just
a
ign-
long
just
look
ignore
at
my
a lot
vegan
of
yogurt.
sorceress and barbarian
Oh,
aspects
God, it's
aren't being,
disgusting.
like utilized very well
Blech.
right now, and trying to lift a lot of those back up. So there's going to be a wide range of like legendary power and
Fuck's
item
sake.
improvements for these two classes in particular.
Right.
We're taking a look at a lot of things, but we're really honing in specifically on sorceress first, and then also getting a lot of barbarian updates in there at the same time. And this is again.
I'm
this
so
is for
sorry, that probably
1.1.
sounds so horrible.
Correct.
So the very next patch and cycle.
Yeah, and we expect that patch. Obviously, if we're having a live stream now, next Friday, we expect that patch here in the next couple weeks or so. So at least you guys can get an early preview on it.
Yeah, and on that Friday, we'll be talking a lot about like the specifics of all of those changes and kind of hearing what the community says.
Yep.
It feels like
In fact,
Yeah, I play with my mate from college, and we normally play random with random trios, and we found this guy the other week, and he's so chill, and we have a full trio at 1-3 games. Haroldinho, I cannot tell you, a 3-stack at Apex has significantly higher chances of winning because you just don't have someone that runs off, you don't have someone that quits, you all just kind of work together. Even if the 3-stack isn't very good, it will beat like a 2-stack that's good with a random, just straight facts. It's crazy. Never really played or kept up with Diablo. I'm interested to see what it's like. Yeah, Faded, honestly, it's such a good game to chill to. It's really good. You can pick it up, you can put it down, you don't need to know loads about it. You can be one of those people that just plays it for the fun. You can be one of those people that just plays it because you need to know everything about it, and there's a happy medium as well. It's just a fun game.
in fact, the Nightmare Dungeon items that we were just talking about just now,
Pick up
that's
my first
actually,
car.
We're planning on actually
Woohoo.
rolling that out in a hot
Seaman
mix,
riding a German whip,
specifically.
blacked out windows,
And that
leaning
is
back.
something that we actually plan on rolling out later today. So
What
we'll
car you
have more
getting?
information on the Nightmare Dungeon changes that will be that we talked about earlier. That will be coming out later today via hotfix. Another big thing that we've talked about in patch notes, because we've toned it down, and now we're kind of and we had mentioned that to players that we did plan on
Use a
bringing
good
it back
tactic
up,
and work so well.
is, monster density in Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide. So
Actual German whip.
I know that you guys had some plans and so forth related to that.
There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, going back to the mission statement I mentioned earlier, a key part of the live.
Haroldinho, what's the tactic? So I'm assuming you're caustic in this situation, right? So who else have you got? What's the team dynamic? Paint a picture for me. I need to understand.
Game is having high density areas for players to mow down, and
key part of ARPGs, right?
of which Diablo 4 is one.
That's true.
Pardon my grammar. And so we're going to be increasing the density in Nightmare Dungeons substantially. And
Increasing the density of monsters in the Nightmare Dungeons substantially. That's a win. What does substantially mean? It's a word, it's not a number, it's not a percentage, it's not a unit. It's we're increasing the... So in this game, in the Nightmare Dungeons, basically there's a complaint in the community that there isn't enough mob density. So when you're going to kill monsters, there's not enough monsters to kill. Like, you'll kill a small group and then you'll walk a little bit and kill a small group, and it's not as fun as killing large groups of monsters. So they're saying they're going to increase the mob density, but substantially isn't a number, it's not a percentage. So what does that mean? It could mean anything. Substantially is subjective to a degree. Obviously it means a larger number, but a larger in comparison to what?
we're going to be increasing the density in Helltide as well. Now, with the Nightmare Dungeon changes across the board for Nightmare Dungeons, all Nightmare Dungeons will get more dense. The Helltide change, there are certain areas of Helltide that are extremely dense, right?
Yeah.
Like the tar pits,
Tar
for
pits.
example, is very dense. Areas like that probably won't get more dense, and part of what we've been doing here
Yeah,
at the
that's
same
fa-
time
that's
in
fine.
terms of these density changes is making sure that we're making performance improvements, like looking at player skills that are taking a lot of time on the servers.
It would be so good if they had a system where it was like a really smart dynamic system where it could kind of figure out what your DPS was as your character, so it kind of knew what an average player amount of monsters they could kill quite comfortably, and then every time you walked into an area it spawned in those monsters based on your individual character. So let's just say if I'm playing as a rogue and my DPS is like, this is a random number, it's like 4,000, and it worked out my speed, time to kill and stuff like that, it means that they put like 30 monsters there, and maybe a druid's like 3,000 and the speed is lower, so they put 20 monsters there, and it's like dynamic scaling. So actually, based on how efficient your character is how many monsters they would throw at you. I don't think that would happen because it's an always online game, so technically whenever you move into an area you're always going to be around other people, and it would be too difficult to, I think, program that. But I feel like that would be a really interesting way of doing it. But I'm really glad to hear that they're going to increase mob density, because that's something that I think as well, that the whole point you play a Diablo game is to kill monsters. You just want to you just want to attack things and kill things, so you know, more things to hack and slash at is always a good thing in my mind.
Getting those into better performance, so players have better frame rates and stuff, and fewer stalls, and all these kinds of things that make the game more fun to play. And this also helps us increase the number of, like, more monsters, more players, more stuff going on. And we know that the density in Nightmare Dungeons in particular needs
I'd hate to try and attack that building, Haroldinho. Oh my god. If I saw a caustic and a Watson in a building, I'm going the other way.
Uniformly, density in Nightmare Dungeons will go up uniformly, and these will be substantial increases.
Yep. Which I know players have been talking about constantly.
Yeah.
Wanting additional density on this.
Right, rightly so.
There's no one knocking on that door.
Inventory concerns we've heard from players. I know we've talked about.
Okay, cool. So this is actually a really important part, I think, of the Campfire chat, because there's concerns in the community at the moment, because in your inventory there's only so much space, and there's a few items that probably deserve their own tab, and there's also stash that you can put items you don't want to carry on you in the stash, and the stash isn't big enough. There's not enough room in the stash for when you're a little bit later in the game and you're collecting lots and lots of items. So everyone wants there to be more item space, more tabs, more stash space, and they're going to kind of talk about this here, so this will be quite interesting.
About gems and so forth actually becoming materials in Season 2, which to help out with some inventory concerns specifically. I know you guys have information, at least in regards to stash, and what might be coming in 1.1.1.
Yes. So certainly the gem change is still coming in Season 2, like you said. But we need more stash help now, right? And so in 1.1.1, we're going to be adding an additional stash tab for players.
Woo!
Store more aspects, more Malignant Hearts.
Yeah, this has been like an ongoing conversation.
That's what we need
inside the dev team, of like, do we feel that we're ready to do this yet?
The catch being they're going to charge you £5 a month for the extra stash. Wait for it.
Do we feel that we're ready to do this yet? Like the density conversation, the stash tab conversation, like the engineering team's been working really, really hard to be able to like make these adjustments possible for us. Like there's more that we're doing. This is now a never-ending conversation of like what else can we do and what else can we be doing to try to improve the experience. But like we've definitely heard these two concerns, and we're just really happy to be able to bring them in as early as 1.1.1.
Yeah. Oh, and I should mention that
I'm really sorry, Faded. I don't think I've actually set a cap on this. Let me move it a little bit further away, so if I scream again, it's not gonna deafen you. Normally, when I set up my streams, like I have done on my old PC and on Twitch, I've got like a cap. So if I scream into this, it just limits it anyway. But I think I've just maybe made you deaf in one ear, so I can only apologise.
along with the stash tab, we're making a small change to elixir stack size. We're going to bring that up to 99. So that'll help a little bit.
Awesome. Obviously, like with new starts to seasons, and if we do have these types of changes that occur within the patch that may change, whether it's the meta or the balance of specific things. There's been questions related to respecs and how that has been pretty expensive on people's their own personal economies with builds and so forth. I know we have respec changes that are also coming.
They're working so
with
hard,
the
so
game
give them
itself.
money.
You guys probably know more specifics on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, this really goes back. Joe was talking about our commitment to choice earlier, and it also, but I think it also goes back to, when we say in the mission statement we want to have a wide variety of viable builds. Great, but if you can't switch between those builds, then it still feels punishing, right? So we're going to bring respec costs down by about 40%, quite a bit.
Oh my god. So respec costs has been such a big conversation topic since before the game even came out, like in the beta stages of the game. Everyone in the community has been saying the respec cost is too high, it's too damn high. And they kept saying as developers they're not going to change it, it's in a good place. They want it to feel like you've kind of, you're working towards something, and respecing is a big deal. They're not going to change the respec costs, and now they're just like, yeah, we're just going to 40% bring it down, make it easier. It's a good thing, don't get me wrong. It's a good decision that they've made, but it's taken a month and a half for them to kind of realize that. And I think we've been saying it for about 2 months, so it's a positive outcome, but it's just it just seems very delayed. Very delayed.
Cool. Yeah, so it should help out with people that want to switch over to a different build and so forth, or they do have to adjust over to another build. They get the option of actually being able to do so, or have an easier option of being able to do so.
And that'll be in 1.1.1.
And that'll be in 1.1.1 as well. So, and then I know, lastly, one big thing is, as players kind of progress through the game, and the leveling curve kind of goes through, especially post 70 or so. We've been looking at the player journey and how they've been getting up to 100. I know there's some changes that you guys are looking at in terms of experience and so forth from that end.
Yeah, I mean the short version is we want to make leveling from 50 to 100 faster by adjusting XP.
That's brilliant. Keep going. Tell me more.
I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I realized when I was talking earlier about the changes we made. Obviously, we also made the change to XP gain when fighting creatures above your level, and I failed to mention this discussing it.
Yeah.
So the original intent for that was we found players basically sitting at fighting creatures 3 levels above them and never felt like they were really challenging themselves beyond that. We wanted to stretch that out a bit further, but that went from a 25% bonus to a 15% bonus, and we knew that density changes were coming online, so we thought about this a little bit, but. I read a lot of feedback, afterwards in particular, that just made it sound like people thought that we were just trying to make the game take longer, which wasn't actually the goal, but realized that the 25% to 15% change did constitute a nerf. As a result, that is the thing that we're thinking about as well.
We are not trying to slow down the game.
No, and to that point, we had a vision for how long we want the game to take for players. We realized that it's taking a little bit longer than that, than what our vision was originally for.
Okay, a little bit longer. I mean, I've played the game a lot, and I'm only level 86, and I've grinded it a lot. And I know that you need to grind a game to get to level 100, but I think for them to say that it's a little bit longer is really long. It ain't 20 hours. It ain't 40 hours. It ain't 50, 60 hours. It's 80 hours. It's a lot. It's a lot of hours to get there. So yeah, it's interesting to hear that they're not trying to slow the game down, because obviously that's what the community feedback is. And I think that maybe, I think these chats are brilliant. I think that they address a lot of the concerns and a lot of the issues. And of course they're not fixing things immediately, but I think that they always talk about the right things in these chats. They always highlight the things that the community are talking about the most. They're very, very aware of what's right and what's wrong with the game. The community is obviously clearly extremely vocal about what they like and what they dislike at the moment, mostly dislike. But we're talking about it, and we're saying we're fixing it. We're getting the extra stash space, getting the gem tab sorted next season. They were increasing monster density. They realized they accidentally nerfed the experience gained. They want to fix between like 50 and 100. Like all of these things are really, 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 really positive. So far so good in my opinion. I think that this is going really well.
A lot of folks are leveling up, particularly when they get to certain parts of the game, like when they're World Tiers 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So we are looking to like really to readjust the XP rates for those areas, because we aren't looking to like have you hit this absolute brick wall when you hit like level 70 or something, right? Like there's not like these moments where you're going to feel like you just can't, or 75. Like we don't want you to have this feeling that you just can't make meaningful progress, that we're just artificially
86 in my case.
holding you back. But it's never been the vision or the goal, right? It ended up working out that just it wasn't the players weren't earning XP at the rate that we had originally expected. Is what it really came down to. So these are like we are making changes in this regard to kind of bring this down a bit. Yeah.
And I mean, you've seen certainly.
That one really tickled me. We are making changes to bring this down a bit, just a little bit.
We did things like increase the XP bonus for Nightmare Dungeons a while back quite substantially.
Yeah, and Whisper Completion, Helltide chests. Yeah.
Now, notwithstanding that, there are changes to XP related to addressing, the power leveling case, because we don't have like group up, have fun with your friends, like power leveling each other. The only case that we think is not very fun is the case where one person is standing at the entrance to the dungeon and the other person is having all the fun killing monsters.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing because people that do that are obviously so what they were talking about right now is they're saying that there are people who are like level 1, they make a level 1 character and they meet up with their level 100 friend, and then they go into the same dungeon together, and the level 1 character just sits there at the beginning of the dungeon, and the level 100 goes through and clears it, and then within an hour, 2 hours, you're level 50. And they're saying that they want to avoid things like that. I don't really know how I feel about things like that, because I think Diablo is a lot about the experience and the leveling experience and going through the game, but also I don't think there's loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of people doing this. So if that's just what you want to do to level up some characters, to be able to either make content or to be able to just have the abilities you want to do Nightmare Dungeons faster, I don't really have a problem with that. I think that this is a very small percentage of the population of Diablo that's doing stuff like this, that they're trying to fix, when they probably should be looking at other parts of the game for the majority of players that aren't doing stuff like this, that are struggling to level up at the moment. So I don't know how I feel about this. I think it's not really a thing that they should be worrying about, but I guess they have to address it.
And so, when we look at the balance of the XP changes in 1.10, we think that
it's just not necessary.
Changes need to be made
it's not harming anyone.
Between 50 and 100.
Yeah, we want level 1 to 100 to feel like an achievement, but not like a job.
Yeah.
Right. So we want to make some adjustments, make sure that it feels fun.
It feels like a job at the moment. But for me to get to level 86, I had to work for that, and I was so bored between level 80 and level 86. Bored out of my brain doing the same thing. So yeah, I'm glad he said it. We don't want it to feel like a job, because I felt like I was working for free.
Very achievable, obviously, within the season timeline. But yeah, so we are going to make some adjustments. We'll be talking about more probably next week. In terms of with more specificity.
Yes, very soon.
Yeah, so again, we'll be back on stream next Friday to talk about all the details of the changes, including the barb.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So they actually, so that is a really interesting comment, Faded. So at the moment, every dungeon will just scale to your level. So, and until you get to very particular dungeons, certain dungeons that you can only go into if you're over a certain level, and then from then they scale up from you because you want to have harder and harder and harder content, and then they're the ones that they bring in the lower level player, because the scaling is just not there. So they made it before where you would get the experience for a level 80 monster that you kill, which is obviously so much higher than like a level 1 monster. But now they brought it down, so you only get, I think it's like 10 levels higher, so you'd only get for like a level 11 monster or something like that. So it's a lot slower, but people are still doing it, and it's like, well, it doesn't matter if people are still doing it. Like, there's no real competitive advantage to doing it. It's like some people just enjoy playing the game, and if people just want to sit in the same dungeon for 4 hours, just let them. Like, you know, it's not hurting anyone at all.
Like sorcerer changes that Joe had mentioned, along with other changes that we are preparing right now for the patch itself. That patch itself is supposed to be hitting in the next couple weeks. Obviously, if we're doing the stream on Friday, it means it's coming pretty darn soon for after that stream. So, but we did want to make sure that we got in front of players to actually talk to them about everything, and we plan on doing that going forward. If we ever have one of these larger patches that actually make some pretty significant changes within the game, we'll either get in front of you guys via stream, or we'll end up posting about them earlier so that you guys get a better idea of what's to come for those. I know that we do want to take some questions, a bunch of questions actually from chat and so forth. I know one big question that has always kind of come up has been about leaderboards and so forth.
Are these questions real? There was some drama before that they someone was asking developers questions, and they were saying they were asking them questions from like the stream or like viewers or whatever, and it turned out that the questions were just fake and made up. It was hilarious. I don't know much about Diablo, as I say. Is there any features in the game that people can pay for that help you level up? So no, there's nothing like that. There is literally no pay to win at all in Diablo 4. I can't speak for Diablo 3 or Diablo 2, but Diablo 4, there's nothing that you literally... the only things you can buy is cosmetics. That's it. So they've made a really strong stance on that. So no, yeah, literally, yeah. Yeah, exactly. No reason.
Within and the expectation of when those might be coming in. I know that ideally we're aiming for season 3 for the leaderboards in itself. I don't know if you guys have any like additional information or like additional insight onto those from your end.
Leaderboards. So I think leaderboards are cool. I'm just going to start off by saying I think leaderboards are cool, and I think they are probably a necessary part of the game, because there's a small community of people who play this game like a job, and they play this game religiously, and they won't ever play any other games, and they think grass is probably purple. And I think that leaderboards are a really good idea, but it's for such a small percentage of people that are ever going to be on the leaderboards or have anything to do with involvement on the leaderboards, that again, I just feel like it just shouldn't be such a big topic to talk about. There's so many other things in the game which need to be looked at, obviously around the XP stuff, which we've talked about, the inventory stuff, which we've talked about, you know, gearing and things like that. There's so many other more important things, and I like that we you know, they have to address it, and I like that they want to address everything, but I also feel like this is such a small percentage of players that this will affect, and it just seems to be such a big deal in the community at the moment, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, so one thing that's really important to us for leaderboards in Diablo 4 is that we don't think that like tying this directly to Nightmare Dungeons or content type exactly like that is going to make a lot of sense, because the variety of the nature of the system. So we want to make a content type that kind of partners
exactly, yeah,
with,
overreaching
with
for
boards,
perfection.
So you can be judged in kind of like this kind of more even playing field when you're going through that experience. But that is content that we are actively in development on and are excited to try to get ready for season 3. So we're going to be making I'm sorry. The short answer to this is so we excited about our competitive feature. We are making a specific content type that goes alongside that you're judging yourself against. And we're looking for season 3 for that.
Question from you.
I think that's a really interesting comment, to be fair. I think you're saying, you know, maybe they're targeting big content creators' preferences to make them happy, so for more content and more attraction. And that is a really interesting insight, because ultimately content creators these days are they're free marketing, aren't they? They're the people that are selling the game passively all day, every day, 24/7, and they're the people that are probably going to be on the leaderboards, and they're the people that are going to be playing it a lot. So, yes, I think that for me to say leaderboards are such a small part of the game, I don't understand why there's a big focus, is quite narrow-minded, because ultimately, by focusing on the leaderboards and focusing on the minority who could be the people like the big content creators that play this game for a job, literally for a job, they will then be happier and more likely to endorse and put out the idea of playing a game like Diablo, which in turn markets the game for free. It was quite clever, actually, yeah. So they're marketing for the few, which then passively market for the many, and it kind of comes back to them. So yeah, I think you've flipped my view on that.
Stupid Walrus is Uber Unique's What's the Future? They mathematically don't exist, so I don't think it's a good waste of resources of them anymore.
Sorry, I was really distracted by the walrus.
Okay.
Can you read the question again?
Uber Unique.
Same. What walrus? Is he okay? Is he high?
Oh, right.
What's the future? They mathematically don't exist, so I don't think it's good to waste resources on them in the future.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, Uber Uniques are designed in such a way that they are a huge spike of power, and we're receiving feedback, and we understand the feedback on some of them. But they represent a huge spike of power, and as such, are not expected to be part of builds necessarily. One of our goals underlying is we don't want players to feel that one of these are mandatory, that you must find in an effort to bring your build online. From the ground up, we kind of made the decision to say it is okay if we want players to find these, but we don't want them to expect to find these. Which is a difficult place to balance in terms of drop rates when you're thinking about these. Now, right now, I believe that they are exceedingly rare, and we do want them to feel very, very
exceedingly delicious. They're exceedingly rare. They are, what is it, I don't know what the exact number is. I feel like it's like 1 in 10 million. One drops 1 in every 10 million, but maybe I've exaggerated that number. I'm not sure. I don't know if he'll say it, but it's exceedingly rare is an understatement.
Very rare. But I suspect that as we start moving into future seasons, we do want to find more ways for players, or more opportunities for players to get chances at these. And I imagine we'll be able to talk about that soon. But I would suggest that the current drop rates are probably not going to be the drop rates forever. We'll probably make those a little bit more common, a little more likely to be found.
Because, as we all know, when the community comes a knocking, Diablo devs come a rockin'. I don't even know what I'm saying with that. Basically, the community always gets what they want. It's the same reason why we're getting the inventory space. It's the same reason that the respec costs are being hacked and slashed down by 40%. It's the same reason we're getting a gems tab. Everyone's saying that these Uber Uniques are way too impossible to find, and it will, at some point, because the community is so overwhelmingly vocal about it, it will inevitably become easier to find these items for sure. And they will be less impossibly rare and just incredibly rare.
As time goes on.
A big topic that I'm seeing just pop up in chat and so forth, a lot of comments about crowd control.
Sure.
Boo.
If there's any plans or ways that we're looking at addressing crowd control here in the future.
Remove it.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, or well, I think we both talked about it. We think that when you have high density of monsters on screen and you have a lot of elites, the crowd control, the tools that you have for crowd control are not, need to be better, basically. And some of that is going to be adjustments to things that feel unfair. And some of that is going to be tool adjustments in terms of your tools. I think that we'll be able to, this is something that we'll be able to speak more to in terms of specifics. And
so crowd control in the game is basically when a enemy monster or an enemy elite will hit you with a CC, a crowd control, and the things that fall within the category of a crowd control are basically things that alter your character's either like movement speed or ability to do something. So it will remove you might get dazed, so you can't attack. You might get slowed, so you move slower. You might get chilled, so you could soon become frozen. You could become frozen. You could be burning. You could be like stunned, where you physically cannot move. Like anything that falls into like a category of controlling or altering the way that you move and you can move your characters is a CC. It's a crowd control. And 90% of the time when you die in this game, you will be hit by something that slows your movement so you can't get away, something that stuns you in place, or something that freezes you, and then a bomb explodes next to you and then you're just dead. So everyone's complaining that there's too much crowd control, and everyone's saying that they want more monster density, more monsters on the screen, more monsters to kill, but they don't want then more crowd control, because with some characters, like the rogue, there's a lot of movement abilities, and you can like teleport away, and you can move really fast, and you can avoid crowd control a little bit more. With other classes, like the druid maybe, there's a lot less options to be able to move quickly and move out of the way. So they want to try and balance crowd control to some degree.
How we're going to address that, but we agree it's a problem in the future.
Question from I'm so bad. IK Rekote. I tried. I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry. When will loadouts be added?
Yeah, it's a feature that the UI team is very excited about, and something we've talked about a bit internally. We don't have a timeline for the idea of loadouts just yet, but it is something that we're continuing to actively talk about. When we have more information to share in terms of like when something like this could potentially be added to Diablo 4, I'm sure that we'll talk about it. Barag Zero.
I honestly, faded. I love Five Guys. Every time I get one, I always get the burger. Like a double bacon and cheeseburger, and I have every single possible bit of salad you can get. Everything. I get the lettuce. They get like mushrooms in them, don't they? Onions, like everything. I put it all in. I want it all. We will reveal later. We are gonna add it. Yeah.
Says, what is the time frame on 111? It doesn't seem very clear. Is it before the middle of the season? How long do I need to wait for Sorcerer and Barbs to have their changes and be playable? It is much sooner than mid-season. As I said, it's only like a couple weeks away, and by a couple weeks I mean like very, very soon. Like if we're doing a stream on Friday, I would expect it within a couple days after the stream.
We have to provide some. If we say anything too specific today, production will choke us out. So we have to be very careful about the language we use. But yes, very soon.
What the hell's going on in production? Don't say anything. We're gonna choke you out.
Only because with patches themselves, of course, there are
calling HR over that
platforms and everything, and of course those go through certification. If a certification gets pushed back or whatnot, then we obviously need to readjust schedules. So it's hard for us to actually put a specific time until that actually occurs.
Or you get choked out.
But very, very soon. Bald Beast 79. Are there any plans for some changes for experience between, say, level 75 to 100? This is actually something that we just commented on, but the journey feels a bit dull. There are several events, but only nightmare dungeons to provide challenge. World bosses, Helltides, and Whispers are a good idea, but just too easy.
So this is the thing which I think personally is the biggest problem with the game, and it is the level 75 plus experience, and they did touch on this a little bit. If they could add some other ways of leveling other than just Helltides and Nightmare Dungeons post level 75, I feel like that would be a huge benefit. So let's see what they have to say.
Yeah, there's so we talked about, so I guess there's two real parts of this, are we making changes to the XP progression for players while they're moving through, like World Tier 4 in this case? And the answer is yes. We are going to be looking at making changes to that, and we'll talk more about that soon. And then, secondly, do we feel that there are the right number of milestones for players to engage with? Enough goals to kind of consume while you're also just leveling up, and enough content to
Definitely not.
kind of do as you're leveling up
No.
in these role tiers? And I think that the answer is no. That we know that there's more things that we need to add to the game, particularly for World Tier 4. But really, just once you get into World Tier 3 and 4, just want to find more opportunities and more content and new things for players to do as they're leveling up through those spaces. And we do have plans for those things, and we do have thoughts on stuff we want to add in Season 2 in particular, and some things we're looking to continue to talk about moving forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, we recognize...
Did he say Season 2 or Season 3? I think he said 2, right? But I thought he might have said 3. Just assassinate you if you leak anything. I've got ready. Just for the stash comment, 2 devs are gone. Yeah, that's it. Sacked.
There's more we would like to add to that journey to kind of create more variety and more moments of challenge as well while you're progressing, and not just at 100
Season
but
4.
all along the way.
Kodoc24 says, what are your plans to adjust loot drops? This I'm going to add on to his question after I read it. It feels very frustrating to grind for days without ever seeing anything close to an upgrade or finding the right aspect. Even worse, when you finally do it and it's a terrible roll. Slightly, I'm also going to modify that and mention target farming, which has also been a topic within the community. I'm not sure if you guys want to have any plans and so forth for that.
Yep.
So I think there's a couple parts of this as well, right? There's the idea of I grind for a long time to get an item, and the item is not an upgrade. And particularly, when you're in World Tiers 3 and 4, where you start dealing with sacred items and ancestral items, where you're kind of dealing with this larger bucket of eye power range, this can certainly tend to be true, unless you're looking for specific kinds of affixes, you're looking for particular kinds of roles, right? So there's a couple things. One, we know we want to try to reduce the difficulty of like kind of comparing and looking at a number of different items all at once and trying to get a better sense of that. These are things the UI team is very passionate about, and conversations are ongoing in terms of how we want to achieve that. Like things like loot filters, things like that.
Yes, loot filters. Okay, that I think is the first time they've ever really addressed loot filters being potentially in the game. So there are loot filters in other games. The one I played most recently is The Last Epoch, which is another ARPG. And you can basically put a filter to say, I don't want to see these types of items, I only want to see these types of items. So when it drops, you're not just picking up random shit and random garbage. So you know that when something drops, it's actually something that you want. And it just makes the game so much better, because I'm constantly just picking up shit I don't need. So love that they're talking about this. Please add this into the game, guys.
There is the idea of like, how does the progression of itemization feel, particularly in World Tier 4, while you're leveling up there? And the systems team has ideas on things they would like to include. It's too early for us to say exactly, to like really like lay them all out just now. But there are ideas and things we want to do to kind of improve the feeling of progression through the ancestral tier, so that you feel like there's more thresholds and there's more opportunities to kind of get upgrades as you go. And then lastly, there's this idea of target farming. So legendary aspects are a place that I think that we can afford to do more. We know that players are looking for certain aspects. They're trying to find certain things. They're trying to find particularly unique items. I think is often the case, right? They want their Tempest Roar, whatever it is they're looking for. They're looking for that thing. We do have plans in Season 2 right now to have more content you can try to target farm in order to find certain unique items. And I think there's a natural extension of that to figure out like what's the right way for players to be able to find an easier method of getting at some of the aspects they might be looking for as they're progressing through. So that is something that the rewards and systems teams will be thinking about and hopefully we'll talk about soon on stream. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what they're saying is in Season 2, they're looking to implement something. So by the way, Season 2 is going to be in October. It's like October 17th, October 16th. Like we're talking 3 months away from now. In Season 2, they're looking at implementing new ways of being able to go to certain areas and do certain things and try and target certain specific items that you want to be able to put into your build. So if you're looking for a certain knife, you're looking for a certain helmet, you're looking for a certain pair of boots, you should be able to go to these places, farm them out, and then have a higher chance of kind of getting those. Because at the moment, they don't have that in this game at all. I think it'll be nice to have something like that. I think there needs to be a lot more than that, because at the moment, as we said, like between level 75 and level 100, there is nothing. So yes, that's going to be nice to be able to kind of have something like that. But hopefully the team comes up with some more ideas and actually implements it for Season 2, because it's all well and good saying that we're looking at it and we're hoping to have it by Season 2. But if you're getting to the point where See, the season 2 would be 4 months after release. If the game doesn't have all the necessary requirements 4 months after release, in October, when season 2 goes live, if it doesn't have everything, not only will be Baldur's Gate 3 will be released in August, which a lot of people are going to play. A lot of people are going to put a lot of time into. I've already got 50, 60 hours into the pre-release, and I'm going to be putting hundreds of hours into it. But Starfield as well is coming out in September. So you're going to be competing with games like Starfield. You're going to be competing with games like Baldur's Gate. Both of these games are going to take up a considerable amount of time for anyone playing it. So these things need to be implemented for Season 2. And that's just not me. That's not being me being negative. That's not me being demanding. That's just me kind of addressing the situation for what it is. And the fact that there's a lot of players out there who want this kind of stuff, and if they don't get it, why would they not play another game, especially if it's good?
Yeah, and I do want to note, like, I know we have an update here coming for 1.1.1, which we just talked about is in the next couple weeks. There are going to be other patches before season 2 and so forth,
Yes.
with additional
Yes.
changes and items that we just haven't noted, and I just want to clarify specifically on that. We do have more patches beyond 1.1.1 before season 2 to address a lot of feedback that we're receiving from players and a lot of opportunities for us to actually do so. Can we get some sort of matchmaking system to help with partying up with random people or group finders? I know we had talked about group finders.
Nah, play the game solo. Get over it. I'm helping my friend's YouTube channel. It's going well. Am I your friend in this situation, or is there a story outside of this that you're going to tell me? Because you are helping me with my YouTube channel right now. Oof, 100k subs, 13 million views. Is it what kind of YouTube channel is it? Is it mostly like shorts? Is it long form content? Is it live streams? Like what kind of stuff? What category are we talking about?
Before. I know this is something that the team has obviously received feedback about, like helping out with like the social systems and so forth within the game. It is being evaluated, I know, and the teams are looking at it. We just don't have an exact timeline of when those are actually coming in specifically from that end. Are there going to be changes with ARM? Oh, sorry, I forgot that was Andy for Man was the last question. BeanPot10 says, are there going to be changes with armor regarding survivability? Hardcore is almost unplayable on Sorcerer, with one-shots from corpse bows and low innate, due to low innate armor.
Yeah, I think survivability, especially on Sorcerer, is something that the changes that Joe is talking about for that we'll be talking about in more detail next week is one of the things we want to include in that. We recognize that.
Yeah, we also identified there are a few outstanding monster types and abilities that are doing that are killing players a little more frequently than we expect, and like.
Everyone knows who that is. Everyone knows which monster that is. If you played Diablo, you know exactly which monster I'm talking about. He knows exactly which monster I'm talking about. Everyone knows which monster I'm talking about. I fucking hate that monster. Doing research target audience, maybe reduce the roadblocks. Yeah, do you know what? Target audience stuff is really, really interesting, isn't it? And something I've been reading about and learning about and looking up about. And I've done a lot of research in terms of what I want my target audience to be and kind of where I want my channel to go. And it's crazy how much time you have to put into thinking about stuff like that. And I think also with editors, I can only imagine with a channel that size, you know, managing an editor or editors must be such a struggle. It must be so difficult to kind of make sure that you've got the right people doing the right things, because there's probably a lot of money involved with stuff like that.
We're looking at like creatures that explode when they die, for example, claim an awful lot of lives, right? Creatures that can chill, claim an awful lot of lives, right?
Or charging creatures, we've also learned.
And charging.
Yeah, they know. Oh, and the bloody mammoth with the big boar with the tusks. That fucker as well. Dead. Great.
Charging
creatures,
creatures.
yeah.
I've seen a lot of reports about that, and I know, and you're about to say
which I think have been nerfed like twice now.
Well, there's a bug fix.
What's up, Laro?
on the beast charge in particular, where beast charge could deal damage even if you interrupted the charge or the beast died.
Oh, I see. So, well, that's a good bug fix. So, I mean, we're identifying some
He's
of
not
these,
wrong.
like really, really difficult affixes, really, really difficult Nightmare Dungeon affixes, or like really ones that claim lots, like a disproportionate amount of player lives.
Faded, you literally sound like Lauro when he was speaking to units yesterday. I swear I'm having deja vu. It's exactly the same conversation.
As part of that, and we're looking at those all at once. It's Sorcerer survivability is absolutely an issue, and we're going to be talking about it more in the 1.1.1 conversation next week. But there's also this idea of like there's a lot of things out there that are just doing a lot of like what feels to the player in the moment pretty cheap, like unfair, like just I sort of just died, don't really see what happened. So we're looking at more of these situations and trying to figure out the right places to make adjustments. We don't want the game to be easy, we don't want we don't want you to be able to walk through every encounter, and we want the game to feel deadly at times. We want you to feel like you had an opportunity to kind of evade or deal with those situations.
In regards to someone, Zeus DNA says we'll be seeing the hotfix notes before the hotfix comes out today. Yeah, we'll get the notes up. The deployment hasn't started and is not starting until later this afternoon, but we'll get the notes up so that players can see it, and we'll be mentioning it so that players can actually read through them and so forth.
Right.
This is a pretty large hotfix in terms of like items that we're actually fixing and the Nightmare Dungeon stuff that we had just talked about.
Yep.
Templar Knights asks, question, can we change the codex in such a way that we can upgrade the values with founded legendary items? This could
Ooh.
reduce the demand to stash, avoid aspects laying around, easier adopting player tier balance changes, but we still want to find items and increase codex values.
Great question.
Yeah, so we know that one of the key things that players are carrying in their stash right now are lots and lots of aspects.
Yeah.
And we're talking about ways to address that. That's an interesting suggestion. That I think it's sort of going toward the same direction here, which is like, how can we address the case where your stash is completely full of aspects? Certainly having an extra stash tab will not hurt that problem, but I think that
I feel like that from his reaction there, he's thinking to himself, why the fuck haven't we thought of that? How have none of us thought of this as a solution? You could see it in his face. You could see when he said that's an interesting solution in a defeated and deflated way, because it is a perfect solution, and I feel like if they haven't thought of it and they've got that in front of them now, then they're going to be kicking themselves, because he's saying that one of the short-term solutions at the moment is to increase the stash space, but that doesn't fix the fact that you're still getting too many things. Like if you're getting too much of something and you can't get rid of it, if you increase the stash space, you're just going to then end up filling up the new stash space. So you need to create a system that is not filling up the space, but more layering things on top of each other. So if you get a weak aspect that's like level 100 and a stronger aspect that's like level 120, add it onto it and maybe make this one level 101 or something like that, rather than saying, oh, we'll just give you more space to keep hold of these in case you in case you want to use them at some point, which you absolutely never will.
there's more that we'd like to do in terms of the aspects.
Yeah, it's certainly something that we've been discussing internally for a while. I think part of this is just how much fun is it to be able to extract an aspect from an item and be able to maintain that role? And then how much is that fun so fun that it's worth like some of the inventory pressure that comes about as a result of that? Yeah. And that's a conversation we've had within the dev team. We're going to continue to talk about it, but we know that there's definitely a lot of improvements we can make.
I think this is kind of going on to my point though, because if you're extracting, so basically what they're talking about, for anyone that doesn't really understand, is when a piece of legendary gear drops, you might get an item that says every time you hit an enemy you do an extra 300 to 600 damage, and on this item you've rolled 400. So you can add that, you can take that item, you can remove the ability and add it onto a new item. And what they're saying is at the moment you remove the ability, you add it onto a new item, but then you can't re-remove it. That you used it, it's gone. So what they're suggesting is, if you find that ability once, how fun is it that you just get to keep that ability forever? Because what the community is suggesting is if I found it, I should be able to apply it to as many different items as I want, whenever I want. Obviously, you can only have one attached to you at one time, but if you get rid of an item, you should be able to put it on a new item. And they're saying, well, where's the fun in that? Like, if you find something legendary, if you find something good, then you should, when you put it onto something, it should mean something. And I think that there's a middle ground somewhere to say that maybe let's just say it could roll anywhere between 300 and 600 and you get a 500, but you want it to be something you can use indefinitely, then why not allow it to just be a 300, the bottom of the bottom roll, and then every time you find a new one, maybe you add it to 310 or 320 or 340, and you kind of build it up. And then that way, it's the more you find the same aspect, the more you're able to kind of use it onto your new items. Or, if it's really good and you just want to put it on something, do that. There's a definite work around it, and I just really hope it comes for season 2. But I think that would be a really good solution. Haroldinho, well done for winning your first game, man. Was it with your regular trio? Did you caustic Watson up?
Did the Codex of Power, for example, to kind of like be embracing some of these other like affix extraction systems?
Question from DRJ16. Has the team considered how certain nerfs like weapon cooldown reduction are so much more impactful for certain classes than others?
Yes. The team is definitely aware that some of these
That's why we did it.
Changes disproportionately affect, like, the vulnerable damage change disproportionately affecting, like Cold Sorks. There is we're definitely aware that some of these changes disproportionately affect some classes and builds more than others. And this goes back to my earlier point about when we're going to be making changes like this moving forward, that we know we're going to have this have an overall effect of reducing certain effects down, or rather reducing certain like powers or affixes or whatever it is down to a place where we want people to use the baseline to kind of build from for other parts of the game. That when we do those things, it's going to affect these different players in different ways, and they're not going to enjoy that if we've ruined their build in order to try to weed the garden and get things in a better place. Like, ultimately, we're going to be trying to do a lot.
Just not accidentally, we ruined their build purposely.
A lot more situations where if we're going to take a thing away, if we're going to update something, where it's no longer going to be as valuable as part of your build, we want to provide a lot of other options as part of that. Yeah. Make sure we don't leave the build with a gaping like giant hole in it as a result of the change that we made. So this is going to, again, it's going to mean that moving forward, when we're making like larger scale balance and tuning adjustments, we're going to do those a little bit more slowly as a result, in order to make sure that we're embracing all of these other like components to give a lot of options all at once when we make a change.
Yeah, it goes back to the change we had on the screen before, right? We're going to provide compelling alternatives when we make those kinds of changes.
That's a punchy way to say it.
Punchy way.
Kennywa says, question, why did you guys increase the cast time on stuff like leaving dungeons? Feels like you're trying to slow down the game by making us waste time for something.
This is a really good point. I mean, they're going to say, we're obviously about to find out, but they changed it from something like, it takes 3 seconds-ish to leave a dungeon. You can like open a portal and leave a dungeon, to like 5 seconds to leave a dungeon. And it's like, why? Like, why are you slowing down how long it takes to leave a dungeon? I initially thought it'd be something to do with people avoiding death on hardcore. Like, maybe it was too easy if someone was about to die on hardcore because they weren't strong enough, then they could find a corner and get out. So for me, the only thing is that they're trying to kill more hardcore players whose characters can't come back after they die. Other than that, my little tiny little pea brain can't figure it out. So let's see what they've got to say.
That might feel useless.
We can look at that. We'll continue to evaluate that change. It's a fairly small difference. I know that in an ARPG, small amounts of time can be meaningful. We did add the reset dungeon button back in. It does require that you're outside the dungeon, and so there's kind of a loop there.
Why did you increase how long it takes for people to leave a dungeon? You can reset a dungeon. What? Okay, so I feel like they haven't thought about that at all. I understand the fact that if they're talking about a loop and they're saying that, you know, it takes you 3-4 seconds to leave a dungeon, you can reset the dungeon and then go back in. Adding like 2 seconds on to how long it takes for you to leave a dungeon isn't going to change anything in the grand scheme of things. You're still going to leave the dungeon. It's only 2 seconds. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Just let people leave and reset the dungeon anyway. What is the point? The only thing that's going to happen by adding on 2 extra seconds to leave a dungeon is just going to piss people off. You're not going to stop. You're not going to go, oh, actually, you know what? 2 more seconds to leave this dungeon. Maybe I won't reset it. I don't actually have enough time tonight. I thought I had 2 seconds longer.
Loki5123 asks, are you going to add more than 6 or 7 items a season? Are there plans to add more? The feeling is they feel like they would want more items per season that are actually added in.
Yeah, we've always said that we wanted to take in the feedback from the players as we kind of got these seasons out the door. So season 1, we add the 32 Malignant Hearts, which I think have been pretty cool. We're going to be looking at the balance, some of them to kind of like lift them up, make them a little more exciting in some places. But broadly, we're pretty happy. They generally are. And then we have our uniques and our legendary items that we add with the season as well. I think if there is, if we see that there's like a lot of interest in trying to get more of these, we can start trying to think about how we can inject a few more legendaries into the game.
Yeah,
season.
It's no longer Mum 1 sec. Mum, sorry, it's 5 sec.
We want to continue to see like kind of what the feedback looks like. This is a good example of people asking for more. So yeah, good to know.
You know, separately from that, like, are you guys looking at potentially like reworking or redoing some things?
So that means patch 1.1.1 is kind of in that vein of trying to like get these things into a slightly better place. And we do want to go back over our existing legendary power library and identify the ones where they can afford to be lifted up with redesigns and changing the way that some parts of them work, so they've better fulfilled up this.
There's one legendary aspect in the game, and I don't know what it's called, but it's basically when someone shoots you from far away, so if a distant enemy hits you, it's something like there's an 8% chance for them to be dazed or something like that. And it's just like, no one uses that. And then I think in the most recent patch it got nerfed and it got made worse. So I'd like for them to like look at that one, and because if that was like 50%, I'd maybe consider it, and I probably still wouldn't even consider it. So the fact that it's like 8% and they've just made it worse is really weird, especially if they're saying they want to like look at ones that aren't being used and improve them, because I just feel like that one's not being used. I've never seen anyone online using it. I've never looked at seen anyone's gear. You go on any build guides online, it's not there because it's just a really unnecessary aspect. So hopefully they do look at stuff like that, because I think there's a few other aspects, you know, that I can't think of off the top of my head that are similar to that probably I have like less than 1% pick rate.
Stated purpose in terms of where they're supposed to sit in builds. So there's gonna be a lot of opportunities for that along the way as well. It's not gonna be the only way we inject like new fun in the game isn't gonna just be through the season mechanic, isn't just going to be through the addition of brand new legendaries uniques, but also going back over the existing legendary powers after we see players use them a little bit more, making adjustments accordingly.
Question from Panda Mousy and more.
I've just realised it looks like I'm lying on his lap. Tell me more. Hang on, let's get him talking.
Same question, actually. What's your plan for resistances?
Yeah, tell me.
Right now, they feel like a wasted stat. Do we have any changes to resistances that might be changing maybe sooner or later, or how's that going to work?
Resistances fall in one of those categories where if we need to make a change to the way that resistance damage is, or rather, the way that players use resistance to mitigate damage from certain sources. And it's going to be a far-reaching change when we actually go through and make this, which means that we want to be able to take the time with it and do it properly. It's going to be, right now we plan to put that into Season 2 as part of a larger rework. So you can look forward to more information as we get a little bit closer to Season 2.
Shadow Mum, sorry.
Shadow Mum.
Can campaign bosses be added to the pool of dungeon bosses that we encounter? I feel like campaign bosses are underutilized.
I think there could be more opportunities to fight some of those campaign bosses.
Oh, they've already planned it. He can't say it, but you can see it in his face. They've already put campaign bosses. I think that maybe there's more campaign bosses already in season 1, Season of the Malignant, because you can see there's a little smirk. There's a little smirk in his face right there, and I feel like he knows something that we don't know about the current season. I'm willing to bet money that there are campaign bosses in Season of the Malignant's story or whatever it is. I'm willing to bet based on that smirk, that one there. I'm willing to bet it.
In the future.
Fuck, in the future.
I can't comment further on exactly how that will look, but I agree with that sentiment.
Sounds good. Okay.
Joe has often said this, so like we definitely want to make sure we find the right ways to bring act bosses in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is actually a question. Party Cannon 30. Hi there, guys. Can you? Thanks for the information. My question is about crashes on PlayStation 5. Is that a known issue? We are aware of some issues on consoles, specifically Xbox.
Because consoles suck. Sorry, guys. I know you guys have got Xboxes. I know you guys have got Xboxes. Maybe a PlayStation. Don't kill me. I'm just saying. PC is superior. Just saying. He's gonna get choked. He's letting his information. They're gonna choke him.
PlayStation.
Gonna choke me out.
That may be having crash issues and whatnot from their side. I do want to note, like, I know with 1.10 there was a bug fix towards a specific memory leak that the team was trying to identify and find, and they actually did find it, and it was addressed there. There was actually an additional fix in 1.11 because I've seen a lot of questions, whether on Reddit and so forth, about PC performance and so forth, and even on like just performance in general, that will be addressed there.
Bit of ASMR for you guys.
The team, the engineers here are still actively, troubleshooting and figuring out like specific situations that players might be running into. Of course, if you have like more information on those, please post in console bugs on our forums, and give as much information as possible, because a lot of those repro steps on our side are sometimes really difficult, and it helps our teams out.
Was it actually a good noise?
See if they can actually
I'm gonna try it again.
Issues that players are having. Do you guys plan on introducing more ways? I'm sorry, this is Mr.
Hang on. All right, you ready? Was it good or was it weird? Right, shall I load up into the ASMR streams and just crack on my water bowl? There you go. You're welcome.
I don't want to butcher that.
Okay.
Do you guys plan on introducing more craft / modify gear? Currently, only gold has value, and only one stack can be rolled.
More ways to craft and modify gear.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, we do want to add more more options for players to kind of modify the items they're getting. What we have really in the preseason and now the season 1 stage is still very a baseline experience in terms of item modification. We are looking at more opportunities in the future to allow.
I mean, he says baseline experience in terms of item modification. This is the experience that to which you can modify an item. You can get an item of armor. You can take it to the blacksmith. Depending on the level of the item, you might be able to upgrade it 5 times. 5 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Numbers go up 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you can go to the enchanter and go, ooh, out of the four things I can select, 4 skills here, I want to change one of them. But after I've changed that one, I can never change any of the others. You can change that, you can roll that, you can basically roll dice to get a thing. And that's the extent, that's it. That's the only thing you can do. You can upgrade it 5 times, and you can change one of the stats. So when he says it's basic, it's basic. So yeah, I think that it would be really, really good to be able to reroll multiple affixes. I don't think you should be able to reroll all of them, because I think that then if you just have a lot of gold, you can just get anything you want whenever you want, and I think that would be shit. But being able to upgrade it in slightly different ways, to maybe incorporate different skills or different levelings, or maybe you can choose to upgrade the stats or the armor or something like that. That would be interesting. And being able to upgrade 2 different stats and 2 different affixes out of the 4, I think also would be really good. So that would be nice to see in the future.
Allow players to do more with their items. So yeah, that is.
Welcome back, units. I missed your message. How are you?
Striker says, why does the Necrominions take? Why do they take ability slots? It could be easily a different button. How many of Necrominion builds have beat Uber Lilith?
At least one.
Lots of questions about, is there? We already answered the drop rates for uniques and so forth. That was the second part of the question. But I guess the question mostly is about Necromancer minions and ability slots. Also, I saw other questions related to companions, whether they're Druid companions with wolves or Necromancer minions. If there's any changes or plans for those to actually potentially get a little bit more tweaked up.
Yeah, this is something we do care about. One of the things that that sounded dismissive.
Yeah, we care about a lot of things, but go on.
I was just trying to get to another point, which is there's some really cool stuff in some of the Malignant Hearts that affects this, in terms of like kind of getting credit for additional abilities.
Yeah.
There was a thing I saw DM Diablo post a video about his necromancer and how one of the malignant hearts, essentially auto-summoned his skeletons for him, so he didn't have to click that button. And then it also meant that when he was using one of his corpse tendrils ability was automatically activating as well. So there's certain types of abilities for a necromancer which will just automatically trigger whenever there's a corpse. So that's the kind of solution they're talking about, and I think that kind of stuff is really, really good. And it's good solutions to the issues that they're talking about at the moment, but it's a seasonal solution, so unless they carry that through to the next season, then it might continue to be a problem.
We do care a lot about the number of the sort of like ratio of ability to number of slots that it takes up, and making that as optimal as possible.
Yeah, that's right. We want to make sure that if you're going to play a necromancer and you're going to summon skeletons, that you are going to be. I mean, that takes up that's the weight of an ability. Like it's the same as having an active. You need to like playing with it. It's gonna take a little bit of space in your bar. You don't get that in addition to a bunch of other things. If you don't want to have skeletons on your bar right now, the idea would be sacrifice a lot of those skills in order to give you that extra space. And in terms of the viability of like minion builds at various parts of the game, there are some builds that are able to like get pretty deep into content, obviously, but I think there's still room for improvement in terms of like minion survivability and other conversations along those lines.
What's the Elden Ring? I'm assuming it's an Elden Ring randomizer run. I've literally have no idea about that. Is that like a new thing? Massive enemies that one tap you. That just sounds like Elden Ring. That's the only reason I'm suggesting that. Faded and units, you guys should get into a 1v1.
That is still happening. And then there was the other conversation, the question about Druid companions, right?
Yeah, kind of similar to Necromancer minions, and people were asking like, can that ever be a viable thing?
Yeah, I think possibly. We see players. Actually, there are a few players that run like literally all 3 companion skills and use that as part of the build that they'll go after for their druid. And I think that there's likely room here to do more with companion skills. Whether it rises to the full level of like a complete like spec, I think is going to be interesting. But I know that there's people on the team that are very excited about trying to explore more of this side of the druid over time. But we don't have there aren't as many interconnecting points for the way that you interact with your companions right now, and the way that the skeleton army does for the necromancer, in terms of ways that you modify them and do more with them. So I think there's some groundwork we need to do to like provide a lot more options there, but something the team's interested in. Yeah.
I'm gonna do one last question here, which is, will there be better loot tables for like treasure goblins? Any alternate goblin types specifically for those?
Yeah, I think we loved how many, D3 has like all kinds of goblins. There's like 10 different kinds of goblins, or 14 maybe. It's been a little while since I looked at that data. In the editor.
Is he okay? I feel like he's having a breakdown. He was just asked a pretty basic question, and now I feel like I want to give him a hug.
But we think that there's lots of room for there to be more fun goblin types in the future.
And in terms of the treasure goblins have a tendency to provide, we actually I had a conversation with the lead designer last week, talking about this. We are gonna be making we are gonna be buffing like legendary drop chance, for example, from items that will appear from treasure goblins. We do want them to be to feel a little bit more exciting when the moment they drop.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, I know we talked about a lot today. I just want to recap some stuff that we had mentioned today. Obviously, we've been hearing a lot of feedback regarding the patch, and you know we're telling you guys now that we completely hear you loud and clear. We don't plan on doing patches like this ever again, where we're not going to be essentially removing the fun and the player power from players drastically like this.
Yeah.
And if we ever do that for any type of class, like a build or whatnot, we'll make sure that there's always some really good alternatives for players to actually be able to try out a different build that will also be boosted way back up to kind of help out and give other options for players to actually kind of jump into. And you know, we will ourselves do a better job of course, communicating back to the community. Again, what we're saying now is that we will be getting patch notes in front of the community way earlier in advance, whether through a Campfire chat or through like a blog of some sort or any type of communication, so that you guys can get a better chance of looking at patch notes beforehand, seeing any type of changes that might be coming down beforehand, because I think communication was key here. I think you guys not seeing what we were planning on doing and us kind of giving that vision really affected a lot of the response from you guys. And I think if we just provided that over to everyone and gave a little bit more of a heads up, I think it would have helped a whole lot there from that specific situation.
Well, also keeping in mind, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's absolutely one part of it, and you were talking about it in a more full way, but I want to really make sure.
I feel like Elden Ring is such a heavily modded game at the moment, isn't it? There's so many people that have played. I've had the game for so long. I've only ever played the core game. I've only ever played the base game. Never played a single Elden Ring mod. I've seen people do it online, but I've never actually done it myself. That sounds really cool.
One of the really great points of feedback that we've been seeing is like, why can you nerf things today and then buff things far in the future, right? And so what we're saying is, not only is there a change to communication, but we're also going to pair changes like that together, so that we don't have exactly the situation that players have called out as unfair.
Yep, most definitely. And of course, with 111 coming really soon, we are committing to another Campfire chat next week, next Friday. Probably the same time. We'll confirm. More than likely it'll be 11 a.m. next Friday. We'll end up posting about the details.
I'll see
over
you
the next
there,
week,
or
so
I'll see you on another time.
To the community, and there we'll actually go through all the changes that we just talked about here into greater detail. Joe, I know, will end up providing greater detail changes on like the barbarian and sorcerer adjustments that we're going to be making based off of community feedback. And then, of course, we'll also be talking about just essentially everything in the patch notes for that. Patch 111 will be coming out in a couple weeks. With us having a stream next Friday, I anticipate it being very soon or shortly after.
So it sounds like it's wrapping up then.
So
I should be able to get into Diablo in a second.
We have a hotfix today that we will be rolling out this afternoon. We'll be having notes related to that hotfix here really soon, and there's a lot of changes in there, including the Nightmare Dungeon changes that we talked about today. So, again, thank you guys for the feedback.
You are welcome.
Definitely hear you loud and clear.
Oh, sorry.
You know, it's.
Let's put this back to being live. Oh, it's ended. Okay, cool. Right. That's that then. Let's get us on this bad boy. Let's actually play the game rather than talk about it. I can beat 20 units at once. Yes. Is that just more because 20 units will all just be like bumping into each other on the ball? For real. Okay, cool. So let's get into my hardcore character. Loud. There we go. Is that better? Sorry, gang. Can have 20 people doing flip. They can be trying. If there's not 20 balls, it's not going to happen. Good, 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 good. Cool. So just a reminder as well that I'm actually playing the campaign or the season. Sorry, I'm playing the season at the moment with this rogue, but I'm playing a hardcore character. So essentially, if this character dies, it gets deleted. So if I die, feel free to absolutely rinse me for it. But fingers crossed, I won't die, and I can just carry on playing the game as normal. All right, let's go this way.
Not in town.
Hardcore characters. Let's just go some easy mobs for now. Just how's the volume holding up, guys? Is it too loud or is it all right? Little foxies running wild with the foxes. Let's say hello to them.
Hello.
Hello. Alright, let's move over to this dungeon.
I need time to do that.
Do. Let's kill these guys. Seeing as we're here. Oh my god, there's a lot of enemies.
I'm low on energy. I need more time.
No, don't need that in my life. Oof. The thing, when you're such a low level and you don't have many abilities to use, it's so much harder at the
I need
beginning.
more time.
Even though the enemies are obviously a lot harder later in the game. Yeah, boy. Alright, let's give myself a nobility. Oh, hang on.
I'm not ready yet.
You can fuck off. Stupid spiders. Alright. What have we got? So, I think survivability is key, so I'm going to give myself a dash. And that means I can actually get through enemies. Like this. And that will make me much more able to survive. Just like that. I can upgrade my potions. I should definitely do that in a bit.
I need more time.
Oh god. Getting crowd controlled here and getting stunned in place. That's not what we want. Ooh, don't give up. Nice and speedy, that's how we like it.
I'm not ready yet.
Going on the ones grind. I swear I've heard you say that before, units. I swear. Alright, let's clear out the war. I've only got one healing potion left. Life, 118 out of 118. Lose it all and you're dead. Oh god. Thanks for reminding me. 118 life. That is so low. I should probably roll into that. Oh, I dived headfirst into danger. Don't hit me.
not ready yet.
Where are all the extra healing potions? Like, what is going on? There's one. Okay, so far so good. Ow. Nice and... Oh, you're a big boy! Didn't like that.
Need more energy.
Okay. Surely I've got some better... There we go, boots. Put the boots on. Give myself a little bit extra protection because I don't want to die. Got to slay all the enemies, so let's just keep that going. I could pick up this blast wave shrine and then it will just basically kill everything. But there's like a 5% chance that this enemy called the Butcher can show up into the dungeon. And if he shows up, I am fucked. So I need to save that. Whoa, I don't like that move. That looks like it's gonna hurt. Yeah.
Out of energy.
Okay. Oh, I've done the wrong thing. See ya. I'm going back. Going over there.
I'm not ready yet.
Okay. Let's keep it up. You can stay back. Oh, I can't wait to get some new abilities. Get some new threads. Shreds. I thought it said threads. I thought I was getting some fresh threads. Straight down there.
Don't have enough energy.
Bang. That's how we do it. Alright, so there's some more monsters this way. Hey, where'd that healing potion go? Let's clear this out.
I need more time.
Oh, I made a mistake. I'm going back.
Out of energy.
Yeah, just kill them all. Here we go.
I need more time.
Not as good. Why am I getting axes? I can't use axes. Oh my god, the size of that guy. No! Alright.
Don't have enough
I
energy.
think we're alright. Relatively. Okay, cool. Whew. Alright, let's get this this guy to come back. Easy. Easy. Just keep clearing it through. Come on, Gorger. Ooh, pants. It's exactly the same as my current pants, so not good, basically. You probably got me then. I'm gonna save my movement abilities for when I actually potentially get hit by stuff.
I need more time.
Rather than use them to like jump into a fight, I'm gonna make sure that I use them if someone's getting up close to me like that. Okay, lovely jubbly.
I need more time.
So then a few more enemies to kill. Level 11. Beautiful stuff. Stun enemies. That's what I want. Not really happy with that. Oh, I think I dodged that.
I'm not ready yet.
Oh, you're big. Oh, love a stun. Love a stun. Can't beat a stun. I'll get some gloves. Yes, attack speed, gloves. This is what we want. Okay. Nothing he can do. Nothing. Same for you. He did more damage to me than the big guy. There's a trap there. There you go, shot it.
I'm out of energy.
Oh no, I've used my abilities to escape and I've got one more. Okay, good. Oh, fuck. Oh my god, I'm actually gonna die. Oh my god, this is...
I'm low on energy.
Okay. Yep. I reckon we got it, we got it, we got it, we got it. Oh, I was worried then. Actually, oh, hello. Dodge you. See you later. Oh, don't want to be in that. See you later. Okay, so let's sort these out. Blade. Plus 8 damage to what I've got. Yes, please. Plus 3 damage. Yes, please. Yeah, that's what I want. Now let's kill this big guy. Oh, so he just summoned more shit, did he? Yeah, come get me.
Out of energy. I'm not ready yet.
Okay, got that. Got to summon one more. Oh, I'm just absolutely
I need more time.
done him. Easy peasy. Okay. Completed. But is it? No, it's not, because I came in here because there's something back here for me to get. Not that. Back here.
I need more time.
I know you need more time. You're so needy. Why are you so needy? Alright, let's have a little look. Here we go. So they just basically added a tunnel to the back of dungeons. The Writhing Crash. Okay. Use an invoker on an outgrowth. So I have a brutal malignant invoker. Brutal. There's a wrathful one there. Can I use it on that?
It's locked.
No. So you have to use the right coloured one. Okay. This is the first time I've done this. Let's see if I can just absolutely destroy him.
Out of energy.
That was hard. Oh, I don't like these guys.
I need more time.
Yeah, get rid of the slicer. Get you sorted, mate. Got your number. Okay. Short sword, caged heart. How is that different? Caged heart, caged heart. Can be inserted into brutal malignant sockets. I don't understand like how that's different to what else I found. There's no difference. They're both brutal hearts. They're both caged. One's maybe slightly better, but it doesn't really seem worth it. Lemon squeezy, absolutely smashed it. Also, when did I get this emote? Like, is this something? Oh, I guess it's from the battle pass, isn't it? It's just there. It's not. It's just a method of guaranteeing the color. Ah, Because I'll question that, because if it's a method of guaranteeing the colour, then I thought that you could just craft them. So look, if I just go up here,
I need time to do that.
maybe I'm wrong. Come on, horsey, you can do this. You can do this. How are you, Alex? Are you okay?
I need more time.
Alright, here we go. Caged heart. So I thought you could just craft it. There. With 35 vicious malignant and 35 devious malignant. Whereas this... Oh, I guess it's less... You can craft them also, you have a chance of dropping Wrathful. Okay. Yeah, okay. So it's just a little bit extra ways of potentially seeking out the things that you're particularly looking for. Well, all the ones I've got here at the moment, I just don't want them. I'm just gonna salvage them, all of them. Get rid of that. And I think I need to, for the seasonal stuff. Oh, I'm gonna claim my boots. Thanks for the boots. Claim the dagger. I'm not really getting anything. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I want those, so I need to get to like level 30 on this. So 5 out of 11. I need to complete a couple more. So I need to do cellars. I need to do a stronghold. I need to craft a gem. Reach level 25. Waypoints. Upgrade a potion. Waypoints. Cellars. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. So, let's get those two done. Let's upgrade the potion. Let's get this done quick. Did you watch the developer live stream, Alex? Let's upgrade.
Let's have a look.
Yep, upgrade. Yep, I'm gonna upgrade. Wait, can you not upgrade? I want salvage. I'll upgrade that, thank you. And
Unexpected.
I'm gonna salvage the rest. Is that one done? So I need to reach level 25, so that will just happen in naturally.
Well,
Cellars and waypoints. Please upgrade my potion. Thank you. Elixir of Death Evasion. I need Grave Dust. For the next 30 minutes, prevent death once and become immune for 2 seconds. Okay. I feel like that's kind of cheating if you're playing hardcore. Do people use that? I have no idea if people use that. I hate that I don't have the map open. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to run. I'm just going to run with the wind until I see something. Hardcore characters apparently don't... Your softcore stuff doesn't carry over into hardcore, which is so annoying. Oh, hey. Ooh, there's an event. Let's go do that.
I need more time.
Oh, you can fight from so far away with this bow. It's so good. Ain't dying today. Alright, what is this one? Talk to the Wanderer.
I'm not ready yet.
Sup? Thanks. Bloody archers. Survive the waves. Oh, I really don't have a build for waves. I'm not a wave build. Okay.
I need more time.
Let's get rid of that shield, boy. Yep. on. We got you.
I'm not ready yet. I need more energy.
I need to get like a poison trap or something. I feel like it's gonna make my life so much better. Oh my god, I didn't realize there's this many people here. Leave him alone. Oh, the big boy. Oh, it's a ballista. Oh god. I'm on hardcore. That's not what I will need. That is the last thing I need. Oh god.
I'm not ready yet.
Come on. Come on, just destroy the ballista. Yes! That is exactly what we needed. Perfect time to level up. Times like this, I wish I had penetrating shot. If I had penetrating shot right now, my life would be going much better. Let's get all that done.
I'm not ready yet.
Come on. Come on, guys. Lowest damage rogue ever. Is that it? Yes. Okay. That felt slow. Okay, I got one pair of shitty boots. Ooh. Oh, what am I doing? Right, all that for a pair of boots that aren't as good. Got some grave dust though. Okay, so can I get traps yet? No, one more point and then I can get traps. So cricket caltrops, agility. I think. Yeah, I think the slowing things I go through is probably a good idea. Over reducing the cooldown now. Let's do that. What level are you up to, Alex? I'm just going back the way I came, aren't I? Oof.
I need more time.
I feel like a penetrating shot build is probably going to be better. Boom. Take that, bear. Okay. Just go down here. Okay, if we see events, if we see dungeons, we're just going to go in them and just hope for the best.
Out